Hey, how you doing? My name is Chris. Welcome to my shop. Today what I have for you are just a few quick shop tips that hopefully will help you avoid some headaches, maybe make your time in the shop a little more pleasant. They're just various tips, so we're going to cover several different subjects today, but stick around and I'll give you some shop tips that'll hopefully make your life a little bit easier. Okay, my first quick tip for you today is for those of you who may just be getting into pen turning, or maybe even those of you who've been pen turning for a while but just never thought of it. But I'll tell you a quick story real quick, and I don't want to bore you, but I'll tell you this. Every Christmas, my wife hits me up to make a ton of presents for people in her office. And this past year, she hit me up with pens and several other things. But the number of pens she asked me to make went into the double digits, okay? And the first digit was not 1, 2, or 3. Oh, if you follow me, I had to make a lot of pens last Christmas. And one of the worst things, for me anyway, about making pens, because I actually love to turn pens. They're quick, they're easy, you can get in and out of the shop. But when you have, umpteen million of them to make, some things begin to get tedious. And one of those things is sanding the barrels or the tubes that you need to put in the inserts. It's just not a fun gig. When it's only one pen, standing here, and I've seen guys do this, and I've done it, grabbing some sandpaper and twisting this thing and turning around and twisting it some more to get, to sand the thing so you can actually glue it in place. When you get to that number, it becomes a little bit of a pain in the butt to sit here and do all that by hand, but there's an easier way to do it, so let me show you how. All right, ideally, you've already got your lathe set up and your mandrel here in place to begin your pen turning adventure. And when you're talking about over 40 pens, trust me, it's an adventure. On the mandrel, I've already got a couple of 7mm bushings, because these are 7mm tubes, already on the mandrel. And you just simply place your tubes on the mandrel, take another 7mm bushing, bring your tailstock in, pardon my reach, tighten that down, snug it up just a little bit. You don't have to make it real tight because you don't want to actually mess up these bushings here. And then turn your lathe on and begin sanding. And just that quick, you've sanded your tubes. It helps your fingers out, and trust me, if you have to make more than one pen, that saves you a lot of time and a lot of finger blisters. All right, this next tip I have for you is for those of you that use a planer and or a jointer. Does your jointer sometime or your planer sometimes give you a really, really nice smooth cut and then other times give you kind of a really, really rough cut? Well, before you go blaming the machine, it might be, I hate to tell you, a user problem. Let me show you what I mean. All right, I'm going to use this piece of pine only because it's very easy to tell on pine. What I'm trying to get at here is it's important to know the grain direction of your wood. Now, can you tell me, just by looking at this, which way the grain direction is going? Is the grain direction going in this direction, or is the grain direction going in that direction? And on pine, it's real easy to tell because you can see these little V's that are within the wood. They point in the direction of the grain. So we know the grain direction on this board is going in that direction, okay? Now here's how it can become a user error. And I'll have to explain exactly how a planer in this case works. Planers, in case you don't know it, have two things in them called feed rollers. You have the feed roller that initially contacts the wood coming in. That's the feed roller, and the feed roller is spinning this way. The outfeed roller is doing the same thing. So that when the wood is pushed into the planer, it catches this wood, and because of the action of the roller, it's being pulled through your actual planer. Now, between those two feed rollers is your cutter head. Your cutter head, while the feed rollers are going this way, your cutter head is actually going the other way. And so how you run your wood through your planer depends on which way your cutter head is going. Now, if I was to take this board, push it through my planer in this direction, knowing that my cutter head is cutting this way, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to start lifting this wood instead of cutting it because the grain direction is going this way and it's catching the opposite direction. You want your wood, when you're running it through a planer and or a jointer, to be going with the grain of the wood and the cutter head. Do you follow me? If the cutter head is turning this way, you want it to be cutting along the grain of the wood and not against it. As long as it's cutting with the grain of the wood, you're gonna get a nice, smooth, and the cut you were hoping to get. If you put it through this way, you would possibly get tear out, but nonetheless, it will leave you with a much rougher cut across the face of your wood. The grain direction on your wood is very important. So if you've noticed that you've run a piece of wood through your planer or your jointer, you feel the edge that's been cut, and you feel like it's rough, turn the wood around, try it the other way. I think you'll find that you'll get a much smoother cut. So pay attention to the grain direction when you can, and know which direction would be the wrong way, and which direction is actually the right way to feed through your planer. And I think you'll be a lot happier. Okay, the last suggestion I have for you today is not a tip. It is just that. It's a suggestion. It's a process I follow in my shop only because I've been burned from not doing so in the past. And the suggestion is when you buy a top coat, a finish of any kind, it doesn't matter what it is, whenever I open the can or whenever I mix the finish myself, I always put a date on the can, on the lid here or somewhere on the back to tell me the date that I opened that. And I normally just label the month and the year that I opened it, because I will not use a finish in my shop that is over a year old. I've just had too many problems in the past to where I wasn't sure how old the finish was, and I applied it to a piece and then found out it wouldn't cure, or for some reason has this strange color to it. And it's because the finish is old. And you know, fool me twice, and okay, third time is definitely on me, and that's not going to happen to me anymore. I suggest that if you can, replace your finishes the year after you open the lid or you mix them yourself, and you won't run into problems of finishes that won't cure or that give your pieces weird colors, because that can happen when you apply old finishes. So date your finishes when you mix them or open the lid. Don't let them stay in your shop for a year after you've done so. Get rid of them, get new stuff, because you'll be happier and the product will work better itself too. So there you go. I hope some of those tips were helpful. I hope that suggestion helps you out in the future. But either way, you guys take care. Get out in your shops, go out and make that first cut and finish something. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.